Round 9 for the Premier League now, and as we look at the table, Liverpool currently sit top, 4 wins in a row, only that one loss still to Forest. City are unbeaten but take second place, and Arsenal lost to Bournemouth. They're missing Saliba for a very big clash at home to Liverpool this weekend. So could things go from bad to worse for them after picking up their first loss of the season? Villa round off the top 4, and Brighton are making decent strides and sitting in a European place. Now if we go to the bottom of the table, just to take a look, some sides are really struggling at the moment. And as you can see, Leicester, who came up, are okay. They're sitting on 9 points after a dramatic 3-2 win against Southampton. Southampton were leading that game 2-0 but find themselves 19th in the league. Wolves bottom, still no wins like Southampton, but 23 goals conceded. Very poor from Wolves. Are they in danger of going down? Palace are another, struggling in the bottom 3, no wins so far. Can they turn it around? So it's an interesting start to the season. This round of fixtures looks to be quite good, as it does tend to. So if we take a quick look at the fixtures for this round, and we'll start things off with Leicester against Forest. Now Forest have had quite a surprising start. Second best defence in the league behind Liverpool. Obviously they beat Liverpool as well 1-0. It's been so good, but that's what you expect from Nuno as the boss. He had it with Wolves and he seems to have it with Forest. Chris Wood proving again that he's a very competent striker at this level, picking up another winner in their latest fixture. Leicester, they've had a decent start to the season, a couple of wins under their belt now in a row, I believe. They beat Bournemouth, then they beat Southampton at the weekend. I don't think there was a fixture between those. I think that is consecutive. So this could be a very interesting derby. It is the East Midlands derby. Now, it's going to be a tight game, I think. But based on the way they're playing, so I think both teams will score, but I just think Forest, they look different this season. They've got a very good side, and we knew that under Steve Cooper. They built a good side. They had invested a lot of money into their team. I know a lot of players left, but they bought a lot. And they do look now like they're starting to fulfil the potential within the team. So I'm going to go Forest to win 2-1. As you can see as well, the bookies have it not massively tight, but they've got Forest as favourites, but they're higher than evens. So there's no clear favourite for this, but yeah, they are backing Nottingham Forest. We move on to Villa against Bournemouth, and Villa, quite clear favourites. Bournemouth did just beat Arsenal, however. Very good result for Bournemouth. Villa, they had a good fixture too. We can see... Oh, I thought that would show us the matches. Maybe it will. Yes, so, sorry, that's head to head. But we want to look, so Villa, they've just beaten Bologna in the Champions League. They beat Fulham 3-1, both sides having a red card. And they've been very good this season so far. If we look at Bournemouth, obviously that loss to Leicester was a bit of a shock. Before that, they lost to Chelsea and Liverpool, which is kind of fine. Beat Southampton, lost to Leicester, but then went and beat Arsenal. So they're picking up a decent amount of points, Bournemouth are, and I think, again, they're going to be fine this season. They've got a very competent manager and some very good players. This game, I think it could be tight, but I think there'll be goals. That's the main thing. So I'm going to go for Villa to win 3-2. And we move on to Brentford against Ipswich. Now, Brentford are favourites here. Ipswich are quite long odds, to be honest. And they're in a bit of a poor run of form currently. So again, we'll look at the matches. No wins in 9 for Ipswich. but without a clean sheet, 7 for Brentford. So maybe it will be a both teams to score. But if we take a look at Brentford's fixtures, so they lost that game to Man United, but before that it was that crazy 5-3 against Wolves, and Buemo tends to get on the score sheet as well. They had some tough fixtures before that. I did expect better against Man U though. Ipswich, they're not having a great start to the season, so they lost a big game, 2-0 at home to Everton. And yes, they had some decent points here. They got a point against Villa, a point against Ipswich, Fulham as well, pretty good side. But the loss against Everton, considering they are a bit of a relegation rival, wasn't a great bit at all. But can they survive? I think it's unlikely. They have got a lot of players that they had in League One, similar to Luton. You know, there's a lot of players that were playing at League One level there, and I just don't see Ipswich being able to get anything out of this. I think Brentford are a pretty solid side, so I'm going to go for Brentford to win. Let's go for a 2-0 again, a 2-0 loss for Ipswich again. And on to the next, Brighton against Wolves. Again, the odds, Brighton heavily in favour. Brighton are 5th, Wolves are bottom. Wolves are really struggling this season, as we know. And taking a look, so Brighton, some good, very good results there. So yes, they lost to Chelsea when Palmer scored all 4 and had the only 10 rated game this season so far, which was for obviously Palmer with the 4 goals. But then they beat Spurs 3-2 after being 2-0 down. And then they beat Newcastle at the weekend 1-0. Some great results, and Brighton really showing why they are 5th in the league. Having Wolves up next as well, who haven't won, have drawn 1, lost 7. Really kind of hammers home the point that I really do think that Brighton will win this. Now, the loss to Brentford maybe is the bad one, but could you argue they've had some tough fixtures? I mean, they've lost 2-1 against Liverpool at home and 2-1 against Man City at home. The Villa loss as well. You know, Villa, good side. Wolves lost to Newcastle. Newcastle not great this season, but another good side. And then Chelsea and Arsenal as well. They drew with Forest. So maybe it's that they haven't had a very good set of fixtures to start off with. And I'd argue that's a good point. But when you start badly, when you get into a bit of a slump, it can be hard to come out of, especially with the way they ended last season. It was a very poor kind of second half to the season, or maybe last quarter to the season instead. So is it the fixtures, or is it just that they're not great this season? I think it's a bit of both. I'm going to go for Brighton to win it 3-1, and we'll move on to Man City Southampton. City, I mean, I'm not even going to go into detail on this one. Even though I'm not massively convinced by City, I think they've been okay, but not their usual high standard of performance. They beat Wolves 2-1 in the last minute. John Stones with another last minute goal to get something out of a game. At Southampton, you can see there, they're 16-1 to win this game. They're very poor. City are basically 1-10 to win it, which it's very rare you see odds like that when two sides are in the same league. But yeah, City should win this. I'm going to go 4-0. On to Everton Fulham. This looks tight. I think it will be a tight game, and that's why I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Both sides, obviously Everton are lower in the table, but I think being at Goodison Park, Everton will be able to pull something out the bag. And Fulham, yeah, not always clinical. They've got a couple of wins recently. Everton beating Palace, drawing with Newcastle, then beating Ipswich. If we look at Fulham, it's been a good start, but you know, the loss to City, they probably should have got some out of. Then they lost to Villa after going 1-0 up. I've just got a feeling that it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Chelsea Newcastle. Now, I'm not high on Newcastle at all this season. I was at the start, before the season kicked off, but they've been pretty poor. Chelsea, pretty good form. They beat Panathinaikos tonight and recording on the Thursday, 4-1 away. They lost to Liverpool 2-1. It was... Could you call it a tight game? Liverpool definitely had the better chances, but Chelsea hung in there. And, yeah, Liverpool probably deserved that one. They drew with Forest, Chelsea did, but, the 4-2 against Brighton, they beat West Ham and Bournemouth. They've got quality, it's just consistency that they need to back it up with. Newcastle, not great form, as you can see. They lost 3-1 to Fulham. They drew with City 1-1, looked like a bit of a turnaround, and then they drew 0-0 with Everton, lost 1-0 to Brighton. And they just don't seem to be able to do it away. I know they lost at home to Brighton, but away from home, Newcastle haven't looked good last season either, this season now. So, yeah, Chelsea, we're going to go for them to win. I'm actually going to go 3-1. Bit of a shock, but yeah, 3-1 win. Palace, Tottenham. Tottenham favourites, as you'd expect. Palace, not great at all. Still no wins. 3 losses in a row. And to be honest, you look at their fixtures, they haven't played too many top sides. So, a little bit of a worry for Palace this season. I think they'll be fine eventually, but considering how they were toward the back end of last season, it's a bit of a shock. Yes, they've lost some key players, but you'd have thought that they'd be a little bit better than they have started. Spurs beat West Ham 4-1, bouncing back from that 3-2 loss to Brighton. And the one thing you can always kind of guarantee with Spurs games is both teams will probably score and there'll be some goals. So, not going for loads of goals here, but I will go for a 2-1 win to Spurs. Maybe that's a bit low. Maybe it should be a 3-2, but we'll go 2-1. On to West Ham v Man United. I'm still not high on Man United. Yes, they beat Brentford, but, look at the table. They're sitting in the bottom half. 8 games, 11 points, a negative goal difference. Not great. West Ham, it hasn't been a great start to the season. Obviously, they're sitting down 15th, are they? They beat Ipswich 4-1, but, other than that, it's been a long time since they won. 24th of August was the time before that. So, and there's some pretty hefty goals conceded in there as well. Man United, they beat Brentford 2-1. Little bit of a shock. I really didn't see that one coming, considering how poor they have been this season. But yeah, maybe they're going to turn a corner. I think not. I'm going to go for a bit of a shock again, a 1-1 draw. And that takes us on to Arsenal against Liverpool. The big game. Arsenal favourites at 3-2, Liverpool 19-10 according to Bet365. If we look at the matches, yes, Arsenal did lose to Bournemouth in the league last, with Saliba getting the red card. And before that, they played Southampton and Leicester, beat them both, but conceded in both. The Arsenal draw, they were pretty good in that game, but the Trossard red kind of ruined any momentum they had. They beat Tottenham as well, so there's some decent results. But to be honest, I don't think anyone's really stood out this season. Obviously, Liverpool are top, and they've started well, but if you look at their list of fixtures so far, yes, they played Chelsea, good side, but that's about it. Most of the other sides they've played have been in the bottom half, so it's tough to judge, but this is the big one. This is the game that kind of tells you if Liverpool are capable of being in the title race or not, because for the past few seasons it's been it's been Man City and Arsenal, and everyone kind of expected it to be again. If Liverpool can go and get something at the Emirates, if it's a draw or, if it's a win, then they're definitely in that title race. But yeah, this is where you start to think, okay, some important fixtures coming up. This will kind of decide whether they're good enough this season. All that being said, Saliba being out will be a big miss for Arsenal. Calafiori is also injured, so you've got Gabriel and Timber at centre-back. But then you're looking at Zinchenko maybe coming back in, Tomiyasu if he's fit. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a different back four for Arsenal. Ødegaard could be back. potentially. Saka could be back in the lineup as well. I don't believe he played the last game. It was Sterling that started on the right. So I think I think there could be some goals. It'll probably be 0-0. But I'm going to go for a 2-all draw. As I tend to go in the big games, I'm very indecisive. Let's go for a 2-all draw and end the video here. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.